As a certified Tweak stan, I always get intrigued and excited about everything that she does. From her engineering skills, to her supersonic hearing and tracking abilities, to her infamous catchphrases and all. But what if I told you there's another side of her that we had yet to discover? A hidden part of her past that wasn't mentioned in the Great Swamp Search special. Growing up with her dad in the Everglades, and only her dad, and being an exception of the daddy's little girl trope, brings us the theory: who's Tweak's mom? And what happened to her? Before we start, just a little disclaimer that this theory is based on my personal beliefs and imagination. There may be some inaccuracies and misinformation that kind of tampers with the timeline of the show, Octonauts. Also, I made this theory when I was like 11, so my thoughts and my brain have changed over time. This is not meant to hate on the characters, and at the end of the day, it's all just headcanon. Without further ado, let's get started. Tweak is the engineer in the Octonauts. She's in charge of tweaking the gups and the different gadgets and machines, or in Ranger Marsh's case, gadgets and gizmos. She was born and raised in the Florida Everglades with her dad, Ranger Marsh, or whom she calls Pa. And Ranger Marsh doesn't really like those gadgets and gizmos. He's pretty old school. He used to have a radio that doesn't work very well, and he likes to catch creatures with his bare paws and with fishing nets. So Tweak and Ranger Marsh are pretty much opposites. In the Great Swamp Search, which is one of my favorite specials of all time, and a special that I was hyped up for as a kid, to the point where I would sell one of my hairs to see a little spoiler. We got to learn about Tweak's past, and we were also introduced to her supersonic hearing abilities, which is something like with rabbits. If you look it up, apparently they can hear for like things like 2 miles away, or is it 100 miles away? I don't know, but yeah, rabbits have really good hearing. She also got to show off her wild side. She's pretty agile and pretty sharp when she's like tracking or running or jumping or flipping. She kind of gets used to it in Above and Beyond, both seasons 1 and 2. Ranger Marsh explains during their mission that during the dry season, when lightning hits the dry plants, then it could cause wildfires. Ranger Marsh also says that fires are good for the Everglades. I'm still not sure about that, because fires in the Everglades are also taken pretty seriously, but they also hit the dry plants to make room for new ones. But in the 9-Banded Armadillo episode, apparently the fires can go on for like a whole 24 hours. There were still like little fires, and some of the fires turned some things on the ground into ash. Swamps in media are often depicted as like spooky or creepy places, usually with stories about like swamp creatures and all that. But even me, I find swamps pretty scary. Sometimes swamps can have a chill vibe in the day, but a spooky or haunting vibe at night, like in The Princess and the Frog. But it wasn't really a swamp, it was the bayou, the Louisiana Bayou. Ranger Marsh still defies the gadgets and gizmos. Throughout Above and Beyond, he goes through like a character development and learning to accept what his daughter wants, because he can't really change his daughter into like how he wants her to behave and what she wants to do. He has to deal with it. And honestly, I really like accepting parents in TV shows. It warms my heart. But there's one question that still kind of hangs on though. Why did he accept his daughter's dreams when he knew that he wasn't okay with it? Did he just not want to disappoint his daughter? Or is there something that happened before Octonauts, or even during Octonauts, but it wasn't on screen, that happened, that he doesn't want to remember? You know those types of media fans that are interested in the lore and the world building, that sometimes they would rewatch episodes to see hidden details or like secrets within characters or also the setting? Yeah, that's kind of me. Well, I'm not really one of those fans, but maybe I'll become one of those fans and be looking into like lore and world building. They search for hints and foreshadowings and even flashbacks or even a character arc that's going to be tackled. You gotta look for it and decide. Say that someone's like cooking. Say that someone's cooking. A frying pan. Is that like a frying pan that their ancestors used to use and there's a tragic story behind it? Or is it just a frying pan? In Tweek's childhood photos that are hanging on the ranger station wall, we see a little tiny baby Tweek who looks around like 5 or maybe around Pinto and Kashi's age. I assume she's like 5 or 6 in those pictures. If you notice on her head, she's not wearing her signature pink bandana. So maybe that pink bandana could have belonged to her mother, or at least is a heirloom that was passed down from all the women in her family. When they were racing through the swamp while it was on fire, they hit a speed bump. The gupke rocked over a twig, and then one of the Burmese python eggs flew out of the gupke. And so Ranger Marsh rescued the egg and the baby Burmese python, but then he got stuck in the mud. So the Octonauts had to turn back and try to rescue him. They tried to throw the rescue line. That didn't work. And then Tweek is worried. She's like, "No, Carl." But then a few seconds later, she's like, "All right, suck it up, girl. You gotta save your father." It was so weird. She was worried at first and sad, but then a few seconds later, she was like, that one scene held more character nuance than the entirety of the special. So I am going to hold on to that. So seeing her expressions tells me that she probably saw her mother. She probably knew about her mother's disappearance. And an incident similar to Marsh getting stuck in the mud and being trapped by the tree is something that she saw and was like, "I am not going to let that happen again. I am going to do this even if it scares me and gives me so much trauma." So here are some of my theories about what I think happened to Tweek's mom. One, this has to do with the Ranger Marsh getting stuck in the mud scene. Basically, she was in that position when she was a child and her mom saved her. She went out there to get her and had to get her out of the fire before she was burned alive. And you know, Tweek made it out, but she didn't. And the medics couldn't save her in time. She might have been suffocated by a wildfire. 2, Ranger Marsh's fear of gadgets and gizmos. So one day the family was in a vehicle, Tweek, Ranger Marsh, and Tweek's mom. Tweek's mom was at the wheel, and it was a pretty stormy night. This little van thing, it was like a van that they use in, like one of those vans that they use in the military or the army, where one of those army vans, or like those little jungle vans that they use on like safaris and stuff. It was one of those. They were driving in this vicious weather, and then she suddenly lost control. It slipped off the road, spun out, and then rolled down a hill, or rolled off course. When the medics came, they pulled out Ranger Marsh and they pulled out Tweek. Maybe Tweek had some minor injuries, and maybe because of her injuries from it, Tweek doesn't really remember, but at the same time, she does. There's also a huge chance that Tweek's mom also did like engineering or was an engineer herself. So maybe Tweek was watching her and she was like, "Oh, I want to be like mom." Because she lost her, she kind of has this protective aura now that if someone that she loves is in danger, then she has to go out there and save them. And she won't even think twice. She'll just go out there and save them and doesn't care about herself. She just that's her first decision, and she doesn't even care about herself or her well-being. She'll just go in there, which fuels the part that she probably did see her mother in danger and all that. And honestly, if she was a kid that time, that's gotta be extremely traumatizing. I think it could also be a great representation in Octonauts about like loss and parent loss, because I think that some kids who have lost their parents, or at least one of their parents, I think they can relate to Tweek as someone who kind of thinks that they lost it all. In conclusion, Tweek was always an interesting character with so many talents, and also having an interesting backstory. Where she grew up in is probably the opposite of what she does now. And I'm honestly really excited to learn a lot about her. And as a Tweek stan, I'm always interested to see what Octonauts brings out for Tweek, especially because she's one of the underutilized characters that doesn't really get that much to shine, but when she does get episodes centered around her, then she definitely does shine. So maybe, just maybe, we will find out one day about what happened to her mom. Okay, so that concludes my theory about who is Tweek's mom and what happened to her. If you have a theory of your own, please tell me in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys have probably came up with. So also be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos. And be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I'm more active on TikTok. I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is your girl Yujin signing off. Peace!